Woman, this is your son. Disciple, this is your mother. My mom, Linda, is my biological mother. My dad, James, is my adoptive dad. I never met my biological father before he died in my early 30s. My sister, Heather, whom I've known since her birth when I was 4, is technically my half-sister, but you better never let me hear you name her as such in our presence. Perhaps this has something to do with why I picked these words of Scripture to write about. Neither my parents or Sarah's parents lived geographically close to us and our girls. As one and then 2 baby girls began growing up all around us, Sarah and I grieved the distance of our own parents and their grandparents more and more, and we still do. Still, a couple of years ago, we gained something more than just a retired Montessori educator who missed her own grandchildren, who were also a distance from her, when Margie, this retired Montessori maestro, became a regular caregiver for Magdalene and Lydia when Sarah and I had concurrent work commitments. Margie lives 2 blocks away from us, delights in our girls, and we've all quite intentionally, become something of a mutually chosen and grace-infused tri-generational fellowship. Blood relations, no, but these girls and we parents and Margie, who I often refer to as Margie Poppins, are sacredly familial. The last few weeks, the 4 of us have gone down to visit Margie at her home, staying at distance in her yard, visiting over chalk drawing, flower picking, and also my regular grocery runs for her. Perhaps this is why I picked these words of Scripture to write about. While my ethics might not always show it, I don't think I could do even for a second without Jesus. He's the primary connective tissue between the divine God and me. He's the bridge between and the ground of my love of and need for my wife Sarah, our girls, my extended family, Sarah's extended family, and all the friends, colleagues, mentors, and mentees I hold dear. The fancy Latin term pontifex, which fascinated me for about a year during my graduate studies in spirituality, means bridge builder. That's who Jesus has become, and that's where, prayerfully and ethically speaking, I try to work as his follower as best as I can to keep him in every aspect of my life. Jesus, the bridge builder, forging and fortifying all my connections with all others. Jesus, the ground of all my relationality, with God, with others, and also within myself. Perhaps this is why I picked these words of Scripture to write about. In this passage, Jesus, the biological family of Mary and spiritual father and friend of this particular disciple, is at this pontifex work, this bridge building once again. Is he encouraging Mother Mary and devoted disciple to come and care for and provide for one another in new, needful ways? Or is he commanding them? The last few days I've imagined more of the latter, that this is a command that perhaps the word charge names best. My reasoning is this, that as Jesus was up on that cross, suffering and dying and severely limited in his body and mind, perhaps he knew that as both of them realized the profound void his absence would create in their individual lives, they may prefer the safety of lonely isolation than risk relating to someone not entirely new to them, but someone who he was calling them to relate to in new and needful ways. Perhaps, as command, his words cajoled them far enough across the bridge of their love for him, dying before them that very day, that they found his absence easier to bear when they shared space and place with one another. For both had, for some time, followed him on their own and as part of his gospel band, and both, with Jesus' words on his dying day, been cajolingly commanded, let's say called, to follow him in greater intimacy with him who through death had become invisible, and with one another who through him had become gospel-bound and trauma-linked family. Perhaps this is why I picked these words of Scripture to write about. But honestly, I'll say perhaps it's because I don't want Jesus, even the Jesus of my imagination, to push me off on or push me toward anyone other than the family I already love and the Jesus I already know. Because if he's only doing so in this Scripture because he himself is leaving, is dying, is being removed from life, I don't want anyone else leaving, anyone else dying, any more removal, especially as the news broadcasts only more and more of it seemingly every day right now. Son Ridgeway, Mom Linda, Dad James. Neighbor Sitter come to be adoptive grandmother and good friend Margie just 2 blocks down. Mother Mary and devoted disciple. And all in and through and among them for me is my and our Jesus. These are my thoughts today as he's again dying before us, dying on Calvary's cross. What do these words of Scripture mean and why do they matter?